Part 7. Tomb Raider, Marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 61. Everyone went to the other side of the stone box with hesitation, and the result was obvious. Not only is there a cabinet door behind the stone box, but there are also 3 large cracks in the front. And Hubei was walking out of the last crack, his floating long hair clearly telling everyone the fact. These cracks all lead to the outside. So, Brother Su, everything you said is true. So, Brother Su, you didn't act together with Lao Hu? Fatty Wang muttered to himself. Hubei, who didn't know the situation, was still a little confused at this time. What are you talking about? Talk about something random. No, Brother Su, how do you know this? Ding Sishan finally couldn't help asking what everyone was thinking. Seeing everyone looking at him without blinking, Su Mu said with a smile. Oh, it's very simple, I pretended to have clairvoyance, and I even colluded with Lao Hu. This is clearly their motive for suspecting Su Mu just now. Everyone. Okay, stop making trouble and do serious business first. Father Yang glared at the confused Su Mu, then waved his hand and came to the cabinet door of the stone box. Looking at the cabinet door covered with a layer of cowhide, Father Yang suddenly said. Tell me, will there be the Muchin bead we are looking for here? Probably not. Something as precious as the Muchin pearl would at least be in Queen Jingju's coffin. Fatty Wang said without thinking. That's true, but this cabinet is obviously closely related to Jingju. Maybe it's all the inheritance of the Jingju family. Professor Chen said this with excitement on his face. Shall we open it? Ding Sishan said. Open. Father Yang took a deep breath, put his big hand on the cabinet door, and was about to push it open. Suddenly. Click. An extremely subtle sound came from inside the stone box. Weird. It seemed a bit like the sound of cracking stone skin. Su Mu glanced at the people around him and found that they didn't notice. He was stunned. Could it be? Did he hear it wrong? But the next second, the voice inside came again. Click. Click. There were more sounds this time, and they were getting denser and denser. No. It wasn't that he heard wrong. It was that the sound was too subtle, so subtle that only Su Mu, who had the blood of the ancestral dragon, could hear it. Su Mu immediately felt something was wrong and quickly grabbed the father-in-law in front of him. Wait, father. There seems to be something. Father Yang was startled, his hands paused, and he was about to turn around and ask. But at this moment, bang, there was a sound, the cabinet door shook, and sawdust flew. A human hand poked out from behind the cabinet door. The blue-gray human hand seemed to be a claw from hell, and there were sharp black claws on the front of the fingers. This is Zhangzi. Everyone behind was so frightened that they were stunned. Why are there rice dumplings here? There was no time to think about it. The most important thing right now was Father Yang's safety. Because that green hand was already approaching Father Yang. At such a close distance, even if he wanted to save, it was too late. What to do? At this moment, Father Yang was equally anxious. Just now he was so frightened by the rice dumpling that a cold breath rushed from the solace of his feet along his back to his forehead. His whole body was filled with panic. He was petrified. Seeing the claws grabbing at him, he wanted to move, but was shocked to find that his whole body seemed to be hugged by someone, and he couldn't exert any strength. Father Yang felt a sense of sadness in his heart. Yuan Sheng. Are you going to die here today? However, at this moment, he suddenly felt a strong pulling force behind his back. When the life-threatening green hands attacked, he quickly pulled him from the place where he was. Pull away. Father Yang turned around in surprise, saw that familiar figure, and couldn't help shouting. Xiaosu. It was Sumyu who gave his adoptive father a hand at the critical moment and allowed him to be rescued safely. Xiaosu, thank you. Professor Chen was about to say thank you, but Sumyu pushed him to the person behind. Everyone is on alert, copycats. Sumyu's expression remained unchanged. He did not turn around to talk to Professor Chen. Judging from the movement he just heard, there was probably more than one thing inside. He quietly picked up the saber at his waist and took a defensive posture. And in behind him, Shirley Yang and others also reacted quickly and picked up the guy. Everyone was staring at the stone box. Boom! Boom! Two loud sounds suddenly sounded. This time, the door of the stone box finally couldn't bear it and exploded. Light shot into the dark space inside the stone box. At that moment, Sumyu's pupils shrank suddenly, and behind him Fatty Wang and Hu Bei could not help but curse. Holy shit! 2 rice dumplings. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 62. Holy shit! 2 rice dumplings. When they saw 2 rice dumplings crawling out of the stone box, Hu Bei and Fatty Wang started swearing. One rice dumpling was old and the other was young. Their bodies were dark brown and greenish-gray respectively. The beard on the old man's chin it was still vaguely distinguishable, with its body wrapped in sheepskin. The other one looked like a young child. The ultimate seer. Sumyu recognized the identities of these 2 rice dumplings at that time. In the original work, these 2 goods were originally harmless. It was just a corpse, sitting in front of the stone box. Now, why are they all turned into rice dumplings? Sumyu had no time to think about it, because the 2 rice dumplings had already come out of the stone box. 2 pairs of red crystal eyes were staring at it. People in front of you. Oh my god, Fat Wang shouted fearfully. In the hands of the 2 rice dumplings, there was actually a huge axe. This big axe was full of golden light. Holy shit, a big axe made of gold. Fat Wang's focus suddenly shifted, and he only stared at the axe in front of him. Hu Ba's eyes were very poisonous. This big axe is only stained with gold on the surface, but it is not a mirror, but made of copper. But at this moment, everyone couldn't care less about this, and they all got ready to start fighting with these 2 rice dumplings that appeared out of nowhere. However, with the experience of fighting 6 rice dumplings before, and now facing only 2 rice dumplings, everyone neither of them were too worried. However, the leader, the old man Zhongzi, looked a bit scary, with a very tall body and extremely stiff skin. The ones at the back were a little more normal. At this moment, Fatty Wang and Hu Bei had already put their index fingers on the trigger. Superior. Da-da-da-da-da-da. The long guns in the hands of the 2 men spit out fierce tongues of fire. The firepower is not too fierce. You must know that this is not the broken machine gun they had before. This is the AK in Shirley Yang's father's team. The firepower is very strong. Bang 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 bang. Bullets were fired at the old rice dumpling in front. However, these bullets only scratched white marks on its dark brown skin. The most severe parts were only scratched by these bullets. In general, these bullets were of no use to the old rice dumpling. Soon, the bullets were almost used up in an instant. As soon as the shuttle went down, except for the recoil, the old rice dumpling was knocked back 2 steps, and the rest nothing works. Oh my god, why is this old guy's skin so hard? Is it made of metal? Fatty Wang said in shock. Of course not, it should be because he has been practicing for a long time and has become a master, Hu Bei said blindly. At this time, Shirley Yang took a black donkey's hoof and quietly touched the side of the old rice dumpling. Then he slid around and immediately bypassed its field of vision. Immediately afterwards, she raised her right foot and violently used coaxing kick. While the rice dumpling was being kicked open, she stuffed the black donkey's hoof into its mouth. Suddenly, The old rice dumpling was stunned for a moment, and then he hit Shirley Yang hard with the big axe in his hand. Call out. A sharp whip sound appeared, and Shirley Yang's waist was caught by a whip, and then pulled hard. When the axe fell, the original Shirley Yang had already been pulled back by Ding Xishan. Bang! The big axe suddenly hit the black floor, and the fragments flew away. It is conceivable that if Shirley Yang was there, she would definitely die. Sumu also breathed a sigh of relief. He was ready at that time. He rushed over, but this whip seemed to be faster. The old rice dumpling seemed to be offended. He bit hard in his mouth and immediately bit off the black donkey's hoof. He even chewed hard and broke the black donkey's hoof. The black donkey's hoof was eaten into the stomach. Holy shit! Is this a black donkey's hoof? Just chewed up. This behavior of the old rice dumpling made Shirley Yang and others a little confused. While they were shocked, something strange happened again. The little rice dumpling, when I rushed forward, I saw a kind of blue-gray gas starting to spray out from its blue-gray body. No need to guess, this cliff is the most terrifying poisonous mist. The poisonous mist spreads out in all directions like blue-gray ink. It seems to be really a mass of water, very substantial. Retreat. Hurry back to the main tomb chamber. Sumu yelled. Everyone dared to touch the poisonous mist and fled away. However, the poisonous mist seemed to have eyes and began to spread towards Shirley Yang and Ding Xishan. It seemed that they were deliberately trying to kill Shirley Yang and Ding Xishan. The two women who were chasing after these two women, Shirley and Yang, seemed to be running away far less quickly than the poisonous mist. Seeing that the poisonous mist was about to annihilate these two lovely people, at this moment, Sumu took action. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 63. Seeing that these poisonous mist were about to annihilate Shirley Yang and Ding Xishan. At this moment, Sumu took action. In a few steps, he had arrived beside the two women. Almost in the blink of an eye, he grabbed the two people's waists with both hands at the same time, and then threw them forcefully into the pile of treasures in the main tomb at the back. Bang! Wow! With a loud crash, all the gold coins on the treasure pile fell down. The two people were thrown on top and landed on their backs, so there was no danger. The two quickly stood up and looked at where they were before, with worried expressions on their faces. The same was true for those who exited, all looking at Sumu, who was still inside. Because if Shirley Yang and the others were rescued, Sumu would definitely face the terrifying little Zongzi. However, because the green-gray poisonous mist blocked the view inside, for a while, no one could confirm what happened inside. Husband! Shirley Yang shouted and wanted to rush in, but was held back by Yang's father. Calm down, Shirley. You have to believe Xiao Su. Father Yang said in a deep voice, you will die if you go in now, but it will reduce the space and cause trouble to Xiao Su. Ken. Shirley Yang opened her mouth with tears in her eyes. She knew her father was right. With Sumu's skills, he could quickly hide in the stone house where the poisonous mist had not spread, and even get into the three big cracks at the back. And if she or even more people go in, the space in the stone house will be seriously reduced. At that time, no matter how capable you are, you will still be unable to use your movements as flexibly as you want. Unable to go in to help, Shirley Yang was anxious and could only stare inside. At this time, Sumu was already in the blue-gray poisonous mist, and the situation was far more serious than Yang's father imagined. The entire stone house is filled with blue-gray poisonous mist. However, Sumu looked very dangerous, but in fact nothing happened. The poisonous mist was all blocked by Sumu's ancestral dragon bloodline, and it seemed like there was an invisible protective shield around Sumu. Sumu was overjoyed. Sure enough, his ancestral dragon bloodline allows him to resist corpse poison. After all, this is a bloodline that is more powerful than Kylan blood. But at this moment, the old dark brown rice dumpling took action. It ran towards Sumyu vigorously, waving the big axe in its hand. The axe head was very sharp and seemed to contain a destructive power. Sumyu sneered. Now that he had no worries, would it be this guy's turn to act wild? Sumyu wiped his ancestral dragon blood on the saber, then jumped up and slashed at the old rice dumpling. Click. Suddenly, Sumyu chopped off most of the old rice dumpling's head. Although its big axe was swung at the same time, Sumyu easily dodged it. Dark corpse blood shot out from the head, almost it spurted out, corroding most of the ground. Sumyu jumped and directly avoided the dirty blood. At this time, the system's prompt sound also came at the same time. Ding, I found that the prophet rice dumplings dropped attribute points. Do you want to pick them up? Pick up. Sumyu was overjoyed. He didn't know what attribute point it would be. Could it be a defensive attribute again? Before he could think about it, the next second, the system's beep sounded again. Ding, congratulations to the host for gaining immunity to corpse poison. Immune to corpse poison? Sumyu was a little confused. How could the attribute dropped by the old Zongzi be like this? Is it because the corpse poison of the young Zongzi is ineffective against the old Zongzi? But this is too useless. Sumyu couldn't help complaining. You must know that his ancestral dragon bloodline directly makes him immune to corpse poison, so using this ability now is completely unnecessary. As if aware of what Sumyu was thinking, the system prompt sounded again. Ding, I discovered that the ancestor dragon bloodline contains the ability to resist poison, and started automatic ability fusion. Ding, the fusion of the immunity to corpse poison ability and the anti-venom ability of the ancestor dragon bloodline is in progress, fusion completed. Ding, congratulations to the host for gaining the new ability of being invulnerable to all poisons. A series of system prompts kept ringing, and Sumyu was overjoyed. Invulnerable to all poisons. This ability is awesome. No poison will be able to stop him from now on. Sumyu was extremely satisfied. An old rice dumpling brought him such a surprise. I wonder what attributes this little rice dumpling will bring to him. Sumyu's eyes lit up and he walked straight towards the little rice dumpling. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 64. Sumyu walked towards the little Zongzi, who responded quickly. It opens its mouth. The next second, an extremely sharp sound burst out from its mouth. It's like a demon howling from hell. Ah! Everyone closed their ears. But it doesn't seem to work. The sound of this little Zongzi seems to reach directly into people's souls. Hubei and others immediately felt that their five senses were lost and their heads were dizzy. Very painful. However, the most painful thing was Sumyu, who was closest. This attack from Xiao Zongzi caused great disturbance to him. I even felt waves of confusion appearing in front of my eyes, and my whole body felt drowsy. This attack is really terrifying. If the little Zongzi keeps screaming like this, I'm afraid everyone will die from it. Sumyu tried to chop the little rice dumpling with the saber in his hand. But that guy was extremely agile and avoided it. It seems that a strong attack will not work. Sumyu suppressed his headache and quickly recalled what methods he could use to fight against that damn little Zongzi. He opened the system interface and browsed quickly. Host, Sumyu. Power, 130 normal adult is 10. Speed, 130 normal adult is 10. Mental power, 130 normal adult is 10. Bloodline, Zilong turn on. Bloodline accessory skill, Sumeru space, a super large storage space exclusive to the host. The skill attached to the bloodline, affinity with all things, the affinity with all things in nature is improved, and you can sense the surrounding environment to a certain extent in places with strong natural atmosphere. The higher the mental power, the more significant the effect will be. The bloodline accessory skill, Night Eyes, can ignore darkness and penetrate chaos. The ancestral dragon tattoo comes with a skill, the power of the ancestral dragon. Initiative. The power of the ancestral dragon. Initiative. Seeing this, Sumu was suddenly shocked. When he was in the sand dunes, he was sneak attacked by the mutated black scale snake, and it was the power of the ancestral dragon that saved his life. At that time, it was triggered in a passive state. Sumu thought that he could only start when the enemy was close to him. Unexpectedly, he discovered now that the system silently turned it into an active skill. If this is the case, it can be used to deal with the little Zongzi in front of you. Do you want to try the effect? Sumu thought the ancestral dragon is majestic. Boom! An invisible majesty emanated from Sumu's ancestral dragon tattoo. The first thing to bear the brunt was the little rice dumpling not far from Sumu. The rice dumpling originally planned to launch another round of attacks on Sumu, but when the ancestral dragon's power was activated, he knelt down with a plop as if he had discovered something terrible. It looked at Sumu in front of it in horror. This familiar enemy seemed to be filled with a terrifying aura like an ancient ferocious beast at this moment. At this moment, the blue-gray rice dumpling skin all over its body was trembling. I was so scared that I didn't dare to move. The majesty of Zilong continued to spread, and then it was Shirley Yang's turn in the main tomb. The 6 people were still waiting for the poisonous gas in the stone house to dissipate, and were always ready to rush in. Seeing that the poisonous fog in the stone house was about to disappear, he was about to rush in. But before they even took a single step, they instantly felt a breath that made their scalp numb. The dangerous aura made their hair stand on end and goosebumps spread all over their bodies. This feeling. What terrible thing appeared again? Fortunately, Sumu's ancestral dragon majesty was specifically aimed at the little Zongzi, otherwise they would all have fallen down long ago. But my legs and feet still couldn't help but tremble. There is no way, this is an instinctive reaction in the bones of living things. But their good mental qualities allowed Shirley Yang to react immediately. They held back and stood firm, the guys in their hands were ready. Several people looked at each other and communicated quickly in lowered voices. You also noticed something was wrong. Hu opened his mouth. The labor and management are all covered in pigskin, the fat man nodded. It came from Brother Su. Shirley Yang didn't have any plans in mind, she just ran over as soon as she finished speaking. Let's go there quickly. Father Yang also followed him quickly. Although the stone house was not far away from them, they all felt anxious inside at this moment. Sumu, Sumu. Don't let anything happen to you. However, when they all ran into the stone house and saw the scene inside, everyone was stunned. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 65. Holy shit. What the hell is this? This was everyone's first reaction when they entered the stone house. There was no trace of the new terrifying existence that I thought, but I was shocked by everything in front of me. The little Zongzi, who was so fierce before, was now kneeling down in front of Sumu. And Sumu had already withdrawn his ancestral dragon power when they came in. After all, it's hard to tell this kind of ability. Husband, what on earth is going on? Looking at the little Zongzi kneeling in front of Sumu, Shirley Yang looked confused. Just now something seemed to flash through the crack, and then the Zongzi was so frightened that he knelt down. Sumu said without a blushing face or a beating heart. Sure enough, there is really something scary. We felt it just now. Hubei glanced at the cracks over there with lingering fear. You must know that he went in at the risk of his life just now? Thinking about it now, he is still a little scared. What to do with this little rice dumpling? Ding Sishan said, pointing to the rice dumpling on the ground that seemed to have fainted from fright like a human being. Keeping it is also a disaster, kill it. As he said that, Sumu picked up the Swiss Army knife in his hand and walked over. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the motionless rice dumpling suddenly bounced up, then jumped back a few times and quickly escaped into the main tomb chamber. It turns out that when Sumu took away the majesty of Zalong, the rice dumpling was already able to move, but he was afraid of Sumu, so he didn't dare to move rashly. Sumu narrowed his eyes chase. Without saying anything, everyone quickly picked up the thing and ran back to the main tomb. Shirley Yang, Professor Chen, and Ding Xishan directly guarded the entrance of the passage, cutting off the little Zongzi's way of retreat. At this time, the little Zongzi's escape was blocked. The prophet of Zhuge City turned into a rice dumpling with no way out. Cackling. The little Zongzi made an unpleasant cry and stared at the enemy in front of him, full of fear. To be precise, he was afraid of Sumu. Although he had no human consciousness, he could vaguely feel it just by relying on biological instinct. He realized that the person in front of him was his biggest threat. Seeing that there was no way to retreat at this time, it roared and pounced directly on him, turning on all the poisonous fog, sound wave, and other plug-ins, as if it wanted to use all its strength to fight with Su. Try your best. People around you can only temporarily avoid these poisonous mists. Just outside the range of these poisons, these poisonous mists also exist based on the small rice dumplings, just like their own buff. While avoiding the remaining poisonous mist, Shirley Yang stared not far away. There, Sumu was struggling with the little rice dumpling, and she couldn't help but feel a little worried. At this time, other people's conditions had been relieved. Some people still feel very uncomfortable. For example, Professor Chen cannot do it as he gets older. There are iron chains in front. We can rely on these iron chains to trap the big rice dumplings. Shirley Yang quickly found a way. After hearing this, everyone was worried that Sumu could not trap the little rice dumpling, so they nodded. So, they divided into two groups, Shirley Yang and Ding Xishan, and the remaining three the men were all the way. Then, Shirley Yang and Ding Xishan came to the bottom of the iron chain. Shirley Yang said, "Find a way to tie the little rice dumpling, hook it up through the chain, and then I will use the remaining chains to trap it." Ding Xishan nodded heavily. The two of them stared at the little rice dumpling, fighting with Sumu, and it looked like it was very difficult. In fact, Sumu didn't find it difficult at all. On the contrary, he was enjoying it now. The saber struck the little rice dumpling again and again, making a clanging sound of metal. Although it didn't cause much damage to the rice dumpling, Sumu would harvest an attribute light group almost every time. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting the defensive attribute of Prophet Xiaozongzi, the defense attribute is add 10. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting the defensive attribute of Prophet Xiaozongzi, the defense attribute is add 10. Therefore, Sumu, who could have used the divine power of the ancestral dragon and the bloodline of the ancestral dragon to instantly kill the little Zongzi, now pretended to be in a stalemate with Zongzi. In the eyes of others, this becomes a sign that Sumu is invincible. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the defensive attribute of the Prophet Xiaozongzi, the defensive attribute is add 10. When Sumu obtains the attribute light group again, suddenly, a chain passed through and directly hooked the little Zongzi. The little Zongzi struggled hard and chopped down with an axe. Suddenly, the chain split into two halves. However, just after it swung the axe, another whip struck. The whip was very fast and wrapped directly around Xiao Zongzi's waist. When the little Zongzi lowered his head to look, an accident happened. It flew up instantly and swept backwards rapidly. I saw Ding Xishan pulling on the whip at the other end, trying to hang the little rice dumpling up. It's just that Ding Xishan was a little careless and didn't estimate the power of this little rice dumpling. When Ding Xishan felt that she could no longer hold on, Shirley Yang appeared. She brought a bunch of chains, which covered the sky like a net, covering the little rice dumplings. Dad! Quick! Shirley Yang pulled a section of the iron chain and shouted loudly. Shirley Yang's father, Hu Boyi, and Fatty Wang appeared from the other direction. Hu Boyi and Fatty Wang kept looking at the wounds on their heads. Ground shooting. Chug tug 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 tug. All these bullets were shot at the little Zongzi, forcing it to be unable to move. At this moment, Shirley Yang's father held a Swiss Army knife and chopped off the little Zongzi's neck. Boom. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 66. Father Yang held an extremely sharp Swiss Army knife in his hand and slashed off the little Zongzi's neck. Boom. There was a sound of metal colliding. However, Xiao Zongzi's neck was fine, but Father Yang's Swiss Army knife was broken. Oh my god, why is this little rice dumpling's head so hard? Damn, the skin is thicker than the old rice dumpling before. What should we do now? Although everyone doesn't know why the skin of this little rice dumpling is so thick. But the most important question now is how to subdue it. At this moment, the little rice dumpling has gone crazy, and the tomahawk hits the ground heavily. Bang! The power of the tomahawk is amazing, causing huge damage to the ground and causing more and more cracks. Bang! Another axe struck towards Sumu. Sumu didn't panic, his body sank, and then he jumped suddenly. What Sumu didn't expect at all was his jump seemed to have too much stamina, and he jumped directly onto Queen Jingji's golden coffin. It seemed that some mechanism on the golden coffin lid had been accidentally touched. There was only a click sound, and the lid of Queen Jingji's coffin flipped open. The next second, Sumu fell directly into the coffin and climbed on the body of Queen Jingji. At this moment, Queen Jingji and Sumu were very close to each other, almost face to face. A faint fragrance hits my face. Sumu suddenly opened his eyelids and saw the true face of Queen Jingji with the blessing of night eyes. Seeing this, even he couldn't help but feel a little lost. This is too beautiful. Like a snowy plum, standing in the quiet valley, blooming quietly and elegantly. Her fair and flawless skin exuded a hint of pink, and her thin lips were as delicate as rose petals. Sumu stared at the woman in front of him, feeling a little unreal. What a nice view. Sumu couldn't help but blurt it out. His right hand moved, and suddenly he felt that he touched something slightly cold. Following his gaze, he didn't expect it to be a sword. In the dark golden coffin, a sword was quietly lying there. But the strange thing is that it only has the hilt but not the sword body. If Sumu didn't have night eyes and amazing eyesight, he wouldn't be able to see it in such an environment. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining one of the 10 most famous swords in ancient times, the light sword. Sumu was inexplicably surprised. It turned out to be a lightsaber. This is one of the top 10 famous swords, the famous sword used by Kong Zhou back then. Regarding the evaluation of this sword, Confucius still has a saying that has been handed down to this day. I have 3 swords, but I choose them. One is that it contains light, which cannot be seen. It moves without knowing what it touches. It is boundless and passes through things without being aware of them. This shows how awesome the lightsaber is. Sumu has long been depressed because of every weapon he gets. There is also a sword sheath here. Don't be too surprised. Sumu said, I'm sorry, I'll lend you your sword. He picked up the Hangong sword and waved it subconsciously. Due to the powerful power brought by Zalong's bloodline, the sword blade cut through the air, and Sumu didn't feel any stagnation at all. This sword is simply a murderous weapon. The more Sumu looked at it, the more he liked it. At this time, the little Zongzi also appeared. It rushed towards the golden coffin where Sumu was. Sumu stood on the coffin and glanced at it calmly. Now he has too lazy to continue playing with the little guy, and disdainful to use the power of the ancestral dragon and the blood of the ancestral dragon. Sumu looked at the light sword in his hand, raised it lightly, and then jumped down. Brush. Sumu held the lightsaber in his hand from top to bottom, hardly exerting any force. He only heard a stab sound. It was like sharp scissors cutting through the thinnest embroidery. The little zongzi was divided into two halves. Black corpse blood spattered on the spot. Boom. The sound was the sound of a corpse falling. Sumu also fell down, with light steps and no injuries. Brother Su. Zia Su. Husband. Hu Bei, Yang's father, Shirley Yang and others saw that Sumu was safely down, and they quickly surrounded him with concern. Sumu smiled slightly and was about to speak. But at this moment, a feeling of dizziness came from the depths of his mind. It was as if there was a huge eye staring at him in the void. Immediately afterwards, Sumu's eyesight went dark, and then he fell into endless darkness. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 67. When Sumu woke up again, he saw that the surrounding environment had changed. This is a pure white room with a somewhat simple decoration. Sumu took a long breath and thought, it seems it's over. I don't know what happened after I fell into coma. With this in mind, Sumu got out of bed and prepared to go out. When he opened the door, he immediately saw a group of people with their heads lowered and silent. What is this pestle doing here? Sumu was slightly startled. In front of him were Shirley Yang, Hu Bei, and Fatty. Husband, wake up. As soon as Shirley Yang saw Sumu, she jumped on him in surprise. Sumu nodded, hugged Shirley in his arms, looked at his father-in-law again, and asked. Dad, how are you? Don't worry, I'm fine. Shirley Yang's father smiled. The main purpose of their trip this time was to save his father. Now that he heard that her father was okay, Sumu breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Fatty Wang squeezed in front of Sumu, said excitedly. Brother Su, your last scene was so handsome. It's a pity that we don't have a camera, otherwise we would have taken a photo of you directly. Hu Bei also stepped forward and handed a sword without a blade to Sumu. Well, this is the sword you got from Queen Jingju's coffin. Sumu's eyes lit up, this was the Hangong sword. Thanks. Lao Hu. Why? Among us, I guess you are the only one who has collected some things, Brother Su. Hu Bei said with some regret. What a pity we have those treasures in Jingju ancient city. Sumu frowned slightly and asked quickly what happened. Why didn't you take it out? At this time, in the room, without Professor Chen and Ding Sishan, they had continued shopping. So Hu Bei didn't hold back and said these words directly. Hu Bei sighed and said. You were unconscious at the time. We originally planned to go and see Queen Jingju, but who knew that the top of the sky-fire glazed roof exploded, and almost the entire mountain was about to collapse, so we quickly found the crack and ran away through the passage inside. Come out. Sumu suddenly realized that he didn't expect that something like this would happen later. It was indeed a pity. Because Sumu knew that anyone who visited Jingju ancient city would definitely be cursed by the ghost cave. He was okay. Not only did he get Han Guangjian even collected piles of treasures. But Hu Bei and the others were in a worse situation. Not only did they narrowly escape death when they went there, but when they came back they didn't get any good things, and they were also cursed. Hu Bei sighed again. He took a breath and looked at Sumu, who was hesitant to speak. Su, brother Su, this time. Lao Hu, when did you become so mother-in-law? Sumu patted Hu Bei on the shoulder and joked. In fact, he had already guessed what Hu Bei wanted to say. He simply said directly, did you not get the Muchen bead? Hubei nodded. Not only that, but there are more serious things. Then he took off his clothes and turned around. Sumu narrowed his eyes and saw a flesh-red pattern behind Hubei, which looked a bit like an eye. Sumu had seen this weird eye pattern before, on Shirley Yang's back. Sure enough, Hubei and the others were cursed by the ghost cave after all. Now everyone, including you, is cursed, and Professor Chen is wasting no time studying this matter. Shirley. Yang said apologetically, I'm sorry everyone, it's all because of me that you were cursed. Fatty Wang waved his hands and said, it's already happened. Let's just stop talking about it. Let's think about how to remove the curse. Shirley Yang nodded, then took a deep breath and said, this kind of curse can only be broken by muchin beads. So what should we do? Fat Wang was very depressed. Father Yang sighed and said, I am going to go back to the United States to look for clues about muchin bead. Once I have a clue, I will definitely tell you. Who? Bei also nodded, I understand. I will also rely on my connections to find my colleagues and look for clues. Sumu said, okay, then we will go with you and search together, which can be considered a help. No. Shirley Yang's father refused very domineeringly and said, you'd better recuperate for a while first. Although nothing wrong can be found, I fainted for no reason, and I'm still a little worried. Shirley Yang seemed to be aware of this. She rarely spoke and just lowered her head silently. Father Yang looked at Hubei and Fatty Wang again and said, in the future, I hope that you two and Sumu will take the lead and let Shirley Yang learn more about her skills. I am relieved about my son-in-law's skills, but my daughter's current skills are still not enough. Who? Bei said with great respect, yes, I will definitely listen to your teachings. Father Yang nodded happily, and when he saw that he had finished speaking, he left calmly. Mr. Yang is really eclectic and has a masterful demeanor. Hubei said with emotion. Humph, to put it bluntly, he has a weird personality. Shirley Yang was full of complaints. She still remembers that this unreliable father disappeared the day after her daughter's wedding. Sumu chuckled and was about to speak, but at this moment, her mind suddenly the system prompt sounded. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the task and opening the new function system mall. Ding. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained 3000 tomb robbing points. Ding. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the tomb robbing reward and several exorcism items. A series of system prompts came, and Sumu was a little confused. Are the rewards so generous? Seeing Sumu's dazed look, Hubei and Fatty thought that he hadn't had a good rest yet, so they left. Husband, please go back to bed and lie down while I go get you some tonic soup. After saying that, Shirley Yang pressed a kiss on Sumu's lips, and then left. Sumu also couldn't wait to enter the room, opened the system interface, and entered the mall directly. When he saw everything inside, he calmed down. Ryu's eyes also widened. This is too much. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 68. Sumu opened the system interface and entered the mall directly. When he saw everything inside, he was so calm that his eyes widened. This is too much. So many things. In the system mall, you can find everything from toothpicks to skyscrapers. Whether it's daily necessities or tomb robbing supplies, we have them all. Suddenly, he saw something, and the label on it shocked him. Muchin pearl. Sumu looked at this thing excitedly, thinking that with the muchin bead, they wouldn't need to go to the tomb anymore. However, he clicked on it and found that he needed to redeem it with points. And this point, unexpectedly, it costs 10,000. This is undoubtedly a sky-high figure for Sumu, who only has 3,000 points. System, how do you get points? Sumu wondered in his heart. Ding, the host can obtain points by going to the tomb to redeem them. Sumyu suddenly realized that this was the case. Then he just needs to go to a few more tombs. Now everyone is cursed, and the only solution is to get the Muchen bead. However, the Muchen bead was planted in King Xian's tomb, which was full of dangers. Without a map, he would be looking for death. He remembered that in the original work, Blind Chen got the map and met Hu Bei and the others in Longling. Now Sumyu can only wait. After all, looking for a blind man in this huge world would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Sumyu looked back on his experience, and it seemed that he had gained a lot. He opened the system interface. Host, Sumyu. Power, 130. Normal adult is 10. Speed, 130. Normal adult is 10. Mental power, 130. Normal adult is 10. Bloodline, Ancestral Dragon open. Bloodline accessory skill, Sumeru space, a super large storage space exclusive to the host. The skill attached to the bloodline, affinity with all things. The affinity with all things in nature is improved, and you can sense the surrounding environment to a certain extent in places with strong natural atmosphere. The higher the mental power, the more significant the effect will be. The bloodline accessory skill, Night Eyes, can ignore darkness and penetrate chaos. The Ancestral Dragon tattoo comes with a skill, the power of the Ancestral Dragon. Initiative. Skill, Coaxing Kick Fight, full level, mountain moving stunt, rumored to be a move of the mountain moving section. Once used, zombies who become immortals cannot escape. There are other methods such as soil exploration, accurate marksmanship, stargazing and tomb identification, etc., which are all quite practical. Sumyu was extremely satisfied. You know, compared to what he was before, he was in heaven and on earth. Moreover, as he continues to go to the tomb, his abilities will become stronger and stronger. Now, Sumyu is more confident about going to the tomb in the future. In the next few days, everyone took some rest. Sumyu still gained something in Jingju Ancient City. At least some obvious weapons were thrown away. Although Hu Bei and Fatty Wang didn't get many things secretly, they still made some money from selling them. It's not about having too many things, it's about being refined. Two people were in the antique market, took some money, bought a store, and prepared to start a business of selling antiques. On the opening day, Sumyu and Shirley Yang went to celebrate and gave away many good things. Sumyu, in particular, also placed some artifacts from Jingju Ancient City in their shop. It's a kind of investment. You can't let these two have nothing good in their store. If it were all a bunch of fakes, if you met someone who knew it, they might just smash it. Although Sumyu saw these two people vowing to open their own shop, but, the reality is always cruel. Although Fatty Wang and Hu Bei are good at exploring and treasure hunting, they can give people a sense of security. However, doing business became another matter. Hu Bei is like a good-natured seller who sells whatever he wants, regardless of whether the thing is valuable or losing money. If you meet someone with a good eye, you might as well just give it away. As for Fatty Wang, he is a shady businessman who is constantly trying to extract money from buyers. On several occasions, he even offered sky-high prices, which made the whole Panjiawan think of it as a joke, saying that he had never seen money. Sumyu couldn't just watch these two people lose everything. After all, he still had investments. If those things were lost, wouldn't he have to pay Dafa? He asked Fatty Wang to find some more people to act as buyers, pretending to buy them here, and then return the money and goods afterwards, giving him a favor fee. This adds a lot of popularity to their store. Although Hu Bei was relatively upright and felt that this was a bit deceptive, he saw the effect and didn't say anything. This is only one step. Then Sumyu spent some money to invite some celebrities at the time. At that time, the prices for celebrities were very cheap, and you could basically get it done in one meal. Although many people don't know those celebrities, they will know them as soon as the movie is released. Sumu has perfectly brought out the star effect and has achieved many good benefits. Finally, Sumu launched a series of after-sales service work. For example, if you buy a product in the store, you will receive an appraisal as a gift. As long as you buy an unknown treasure from outside and come to the store, you can let Sumu and the others appraise it for the appraisal fee. Sumu was not a good person either. When he saw genuine products, he would accept them directly and give him a price that Panjiawan could not give. This is not considered stealing business. As for the fakes, Sumu asked him to go somewhere and find a way to get rid of them. This routine brought more customers to come, and for a while, it was overcrowded. Fatty Wang and Hubie were very busy. In order to repay Sumu, Fatty Wang and Hubie gave 1/3 of the store to Sumu. Sumu didn't like being ink with them, so he accepted it directly. But he doesn't often inside the store. Shirley Yang often visited the major attractions in Kyoto. Unless there are some very important treasures, Hubei and Fatty will ask Sumu to come over and take charge. Kyoto has many places of interest and delicious food. Although Sumu had already seen it in her previous life, Shirley Yang had lived abroad all year round, but she had never seen or eaten it once, so she had a great time. On this day, when two people were visiting the Forbidden City, a rushing sound sounded. Diddy. Sumu picked up the BB camera at his waist and saw that it was from Hubei. What's wrong? Shirley Yang asked. Sumu raised his lips and said, of course Lao Hu and the others have big business. So, the two people hurried back to the store. As soon as they opened the door, they saw Fatty Wang and Hubie sitting at the table. Opposite them, there was a middle-aged man in peasant clothes. Sumu's eyes narrowing his eyes slightly, he could confirm it almost from the first sight. This is, Lichan is here. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 69. When Sumu saw Li Chunlei, she knew that this was the plot of Longling. Thinking about the many treasures in the Longling mysterious cave, such as scent-smelling jade, gold-touching talisman, dragon bone heavenly book, etc., Sumu was also yearning for them. And the most important thing is that you can find Chenziazi there and get the map of King Xian's tomb. So this trip to Longling was a must. So with Sumu's deliberate push, Li Chunlei quickly agreed to take everyone to Gulan County. After a few days, everyone bought some more tomb robbers. 2 days later, everyone gathered at the station. What Sumu didn't expect was that Ding Xishan actually followed. Sumu asked, "What are you doing?" Hubei explained she is also very curious and wants to go to Shaanxi. Ding Xishan also stared at Sumu with her big eyes and said, I am very good and will not cause trouble for you. Sumu helpless. Now that everyone is here, he can't drive them back, right? Soon, Li Chunlei also came late. This guy thought the nearby guest houses were too expensive, so he specially found an old guest house a few miles away to survive for one night. Brother Chunlei, you said you made so much money selling shoes yesterday, why are you still sweating so early in the morning? A bit too stingy. Looking at Li Chunlei, who was covered in dust, Fatty Wan couldn't help complaining. Hey. Li Chunlei wasn't angry after hearing this. He gave a silly laugh and turned around to find the car he came from. The man was also from Gulan County. For the sake of fellow villagers, he also gave a discount to Sumu and others. At this time, the fat man felt that being stingy was better than being stingy. Soon, the bus was full of people. As soon as the bus started, Li Chunlei was busy greeting Sumu and others to get on the bus. It seemed that he was afraid that they would regret it. Sumu had known about Li Chunlei's tricks. He had simply colluded with Ma boldly to deceive people. Sumu didn't notice this. But he suddenly remembered that in the original work, it seemed that Hubei and others were involved in a car accident. I had a flat tire and then took a boat and met the iron-headed Dragon King. If this was the case, it would be difficult to handle. Sumu was not worried about himself. With his ability, he is not afraid of the iron-headed Dragon King, but now he is accompanied by his wife and Ding Sishan. Thus, Sumu thought it was better to be careful. Thinking like this, Sumu was not in a hurry to get on the bus, but instead walked around the bus inadvertently. Pay special attention to the four wheels of the bus. Sure enough, when he saw the right wheel at the rear of the bus, he immediately noticed something was wrong. There was a crack. Although the crack was very small, Sumu could easily spot it with his eyesight. After finding the bad tire, Sumu raised his head and was about to tell him. At this time, everyone happened to get in the car, except Sumu. The bus conductor came over to urge him. "Comrade, are you still taking the car? The people in the car are waiting for you. Sit down. Why don't you take it? Yours is the only bus on this route." Sumu shook his hand enthusiastically, and then asked casually, "I mean, comrade, how often does your car get inspected?" The conductor was also an honest person, and he said directly without thinking, "Oh, about once a week." "Once a week?" Sumu suddenly understood. "What's wrong, comrade? Why do you ask?" the conductor asked in confusion. "Oh, it's nothing, I just want to say that it's time for you to change a tire," Sumu said and pointed to the car gap he had just discovered. The conductor didn't take it seriously at first, but when he glanced at the area that Sumu pointed to, his expression suddenly became serious. There was really an extremely subtle crack there. Cracks. Except for a very few bad guys like Ma Bingdao, the Chinese people in this era are basically honest. As soon as he saw that there was a problem with the tire, the conductor immediately admitted his mistake and asked the driver to change the tire. So everyone on the car started to. We got off the bus. We looked at the driver and the conductor who were busy changing tires, and then at Sumu who was calm and composed on the side. Hubei and the others who witnessed all this were very impressed. "Brother Su, your eyesight is amazing," Hubei gave a thumbs up. "You do not say. I just went to see the seam on the tire. If I didn't look carefully, I really couldn't find it." Ding Sishan's tone was full of admiration. "Oops, we had to find out in advance, otherwise we would have got off the bus halfway. It won't be easy to leave then." Li Chunlei was also terrified at this moment. Sumu smiled slightly. This little thing is just a trivial matter to him who knows the plot. "By the way, Brother Su, why did you suddenly think of checking the tires?" the fat man asked casually. "Oh, I know how to tell fortunes. I made a fortune telling in my mind this morning. There is such a small calamity," Sumu said jokingly. Hubei and the others all smiled slightly after hearing this, and they all obviously noticed. Sumu thought that the fat man would stop there, but he didn't expect that this guy would suddenly become interested in this metaphysical matter. "Brother Su, can you do the math for us on this trip and see if there is anything we need to pay attention to?" The corner of Sumu's mouth twitched. He wanted to refuse, but when the words came to his lips, Sumu suddenly had an idea. Wouldn't it be more reassuring to remind them in advance? "Just do it if you think of it. This is it." Sumu pretended to count with his fingers, and after a moment he slowly spoke. "The land route is blocked, the waterway encounters strange things, and the town." While Sumu was speaking, the bus driver over there started urging everyone loudly, his voice completely covering up Sumu's words. "Okay. The tire is repaired. You can get on the car." When several people saw this, they also followed up quickly. But the fat man was itching to hear, "Hey, Brother Su, what is behind you? I didn't hear it just now." Sumu smiled and was about to speak. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 70. Sumu was about to continue speaking the hexagrams, but at this moment Hubei hit the fat man hard. What are you listening to? Didn't you see that Brother Su was joking? What Hubei said makes sense. Since ancient times, fortune-telling and fortune-telling on May Day have relied on bagua copper plates or other things. How can anyone like Sumu just pinch with his hand and open his mouth? Doesn't he become a god? Fatty seems to. I also thought of this, so I stopped asking. Sumu was too lazy to take the initiative to speak. After all, sometimes it's not good to speak too clearly. Along the way, everyone sat in a bus and ran bumpily along a mountain road. The mountain road swayed left and right, bringing up bursts of yellow tails along the way. Fatty Wong stuck his head out the whole time and kept vomiting outside. Hubei took a fan and kept fanning him. It's okay, you. Hubei asked. Just when Fatty Wong stretched out his head again and was about to vomit, the bus suddenly stopped and stopped. Fatty hit his head on a big bump, and many people on the bus did the same as him. Sumu directly protected him. He grabbed Shirley Yang next to him and pulled Ding Sishan by the way. The few of them did not bump into each other. Comrade driver, how do you drive like this? Just, what's going on? A group of passengers complained. Hey, I'm sorry everyone, there seems to be something wrong with the car. I'll go down and take a look. Not long after, the driver came back again. Dear fellow countrymen, I'm sorry, this car has a burst cylinder and can't drive anymore. What kind of crappy car is it? The tires didn't work before we started, and then the cylinder blew out halfway through. What the hell is that? That is, lose money, lose money. The passengers in the car were protesting and expressing their dissatisfaction. Hubei also joked at this time. Okay, this car will make the fat man vomit. If it was the usual fat man, he would have retorted at this moment. However, at this time, the fat man uncharacteristically ignored Hubei. Instead, he rushed to Sumu and shouted excitedly. Damn it! Brother Su, you are really amazing. This sudden surprise almost shocked Sumu. Fat man! What the hell are you doing? What a surprise! Sumu pulled away the fat man's fat face with great disgust. That's it, damn fat man, you can't speak properly. The rest of the people, including Li Chunlei, also glared at the fat man fiercely at this time. Alas, no, have you forgotten what Brother Su said before? Why is the road impassable and the waterway encounters strange things? The fat man explained wholeheartedly. Didn't Brother Su think that the road was blocked when we came here? I also discovered the problem with the tire in advance. I thought it would be fine later, but Brother Su's prediction was too accurate, so now the bus's cylinder has exploded and the road is really blocked. The fat man finished explaining at once, and then everyone suddenly understood. When you think about it, it really seems like that. Damn it! Brother Su! You are so awesome! A few people looked at Sumu with surprise on their faces. Even Shirley Yang looked at her husband strangely and muttered. I thought it was a joke at the time. Did not expect. Sumu looked at his nose and nose, pretending that he didn't hear his wife's mutterings. Living God! Living God! Li Chunlei, who was silent at this moment, murmured excitedly. He is a common man from the countryside, and he is usually very superstitious. Now that he has experienced this magical thing in person, the look he looked at Sumu at this moment was I admire you so much. Fatty Wong pulled away Li Chunlei, who had occupied his seat, and approached him again. I said Brother Su, this road is blocked has come true. What does the following sentence about encountering monsters on the waterway mean? As soon as these words came out, everyone gathered around. But at this time, the driver urged everyone to get out, so everyone had to get out of the car first. Brother Su, please tell me what does encountering monsters on the waterway mean, the fat man continued to ask. Sumu did not answer directly, but pointed to Li Chunlei beside him. If you ask brother Chunlei, he knows. Li Chunlei looked confused when he heard this, stared at his big innocent eyes, and said, Don't look at me, I don't know. Looking at the people who were looking at them curiously again, Sumu had no choice but to say, Have you ever heard of the Iron-Headed Dragon King? Iron-Headed Dragon King? What is that? Hubei and others were a little curious. But as soon as he heard the name, Li Chunlei immediately said yes, I remembered, this is what happened. Sumu shrugged. Then it's up to you. So, Li Chunlei began to tell. One year, the water of the Yellow River here washed a particularly large fish skeleton ashore. The boatmen named it the Iron-Headed Dragon King. They couldn't deal with the Iron-Headed Dragon King casually, so they thought of a way. Because the fish was as big as a hill, they used it to build a temple. Fatty Wang asked in astonishment, building a temple with fish bones. This sounds rare. There is nothing rare about this. Hubei smiled and said, this fishbone temple has also appeared in Tianjin. The fish bones are used as beams and the fish heads are used as temple doors to worship the Dragon King. Okay, I get it now. Husband, the encounter with monsters on the waterway you mentioned has something to do with the Iron-Headed Dragon King, right? Shirley Yang quickly thought of the key between the two and looked at Sumu. The river water has surged recently, so large fish are likely to appear. So, husband, are you conjecturing all this? Sumu nodded, dumbfounded. Then let's take the land route. If the boat really capsizes in the water, it's really not worth it. The fat man looked at the fast and ferocious yellow river water in the distance and swallowed his saliva. Hubei also nodded and said yes, it is safer to go by land. However, at this moment, Li Chunlei spoke. No, this land route is too far. Without a car, it will probably take several days. Holy shit. Real or fake? A few people were dumbfounded after hearing this. Doesn't this force them to choose the water route? Hubei sighed. There's nothing we can do about it. Brother Chunlei, please come forward and lead the way to find the boat. Li Chunlei nodded and walked directly towards the Yellow River. The fat man followed him and muttered. Damn it, don't let that water monster appear that Brother Su mentioned. Sumu smiled slightly after hearing this. He was unfazed by the impending danger on the waterways. With his ability, he can completely protect Shirley Yang. Moreover, in the original work, Hubei and Fatty Wang were both able to fuck the Iron-Headed Dragon King. Now that he, Shirley Yang and Ding Sishan are added to the mix, it becomes even more important. In fact, the most important thing is that Sumu is very much looking forward to it. The Iron-Headed Dragon King looks very ferocious. Maybe, he might be able to obtain some unexpected attributes from it. Thinking of this, Sumu became more and more looking forward to it.